When are you going to fix these?
You bring WD-40.
It's your house. Why would I bring a whole can of... What one thing
you bring yourself?
It's because it's my microphone. If it was your microphone,
be
you'd have fixed this.
Listen.
Every time I'm here.
Maybe if you actually loosened it before you did it, it wouldn't be doing that.
So every time I've got to...
Yeah, like you notice how I go like that, and then I go like this, and then I loosen this. You just pull it until it moves. You're abusing the metal, and that's why it squeaks.
But it's squeaking in two places.
You buy WD-40.
I have it. I have it. What's my
Great, bring it.
WD-40 was one of those things, this is not an ad, that when I discovered it and used it, I was like, this is incredible.
Could you imagine if WD-40 got in touch? Finally, a podcast. Next week, like a crate of it gets sent to the business.
Nothing will ever squeak in this flat again. That's not grease. That's not tightness of the screw. That's moisture that's got in there. That's why you need WD-40.
George, they were the cheapest mic stands on Amazon.
Tell the audience.
Everything else is actually very high end apart from these mic stands.
He spends it all on the talent.
Yeah. So I had this interesting situation. Well, it's a work situation, but it's not a work problem, right?
Okay.
So I shoot regularly for a brand, okay? And there are multiple video teams that shoot with people involved with this brand. And they often get TV people, presenters, food, drink people, and influencers to film content with. And every so often, there'll be these big events where lots of people from the brand will all come together. And it's nice because you get to see everyone, like, oh yeah, we did that video a while ago. And there's this one influencer who's lovely. And like, I want to say about 5-6 months ago, I was like shooting, but sort of with a different team. She comes up to me and she goes, "Hi, how are you?" And I go, "Oh, you're right." And she goes, "Do you not remember me?" And I've never met this woman before in my life. And she goes, so she's very lovely. She goes, "How could you remember me? You filmed that thing in my house." And I like, no, I didn't film in her house because she was saying it was like 3 months ago. And I definitely didn't film in this woman's house and I would have remembered. And I was like, "I'm really sorry, I don't remember you. Are you thinking of someone else?" Like, "Yes, it was you and another guy, and you came and filmed in my house." "No, why don't you remember?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry. Like, I really think you've got me mistaken. Like, that's not me." And she was like, "No, you do." And then like one of the people I work with who like, brings me on for these jobs, she was like, "Do you know her?" And I was like, "No, I don't, but she thinks she knows me." And like, it's kind of funny, and like I moved on, but she never really accepted that I didn't know her. She genuinely thought I just forgot. And I saw her maybe a month later, and she does the same thing. She's like, "Hi, how are you? Nice to see you again." Yes, this is James. He was filming at my house." And I kept coming up to her and be like, "I'm so sorry. Like, it wasn't me who filmed at your house. Like, I do remember you from last time when you thought you'd be like, it's not me." And she kind of is like busy with people, so she never really saw. She's like, "Oh, you." And I've seen her now maybe 4 or 5 times, and we're at the point where she just goes, "Hi, you're right. Nice to see you." And I'm obviously have now met her technically twice.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Hi, nice to see you." But we just have this. She really thinks I've done something more than, and now it's just forever this misunderstanding.
I thought you were going to say that she was like, when she was like, "Yeah, you came over to my house with this guy, and like you talked about films for a bit, and then you filmed me," and it turns out she fell asleep whilst watching the show.
No, she's not a film person. Really? She's like in her 40s or 50s, so she's not really our audience.
So someone out there, you've got a doppelganger who's also a videographer.
No, I know exactly the cam-op who she's talking about, who doesn't look anything like me, who's about 15 years older than me.
Name is James?
No.
Weird.
His name's Tim. And he was the one who did it, and like we don't look anything alike.
Maybe that's her line with people.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, hey, she tries that on every guy. You're the cam-op from my place."
And I saw her on Friday at this like big event. And she comes up to me, pats her shoulder, she's like, "Hey, you're right." And I'm just like, "Hey, yeah, good. How are you?" I can't keep doing this. She refuses to accept that I'm not who she thinks she is.
I love this is some sort of elaborate dare. They want to get you. They want to
get me, yeah.
See if she can do it so many times that eventually you break and you go, "I've never met you. I've never met you.
I know technically I've now met you 6 times, but those don't count. It was false start."
She's like, "Got you."
And I just feel, it's it now. That's just it. We will forever go on.
There is something
thinking this
specifically frustrating about being recognised for something that isn't you.
Yeah.
And it's something banal as well. It's not like she recognises you as something really great or bad. It's just like...
And they think you're rude for not remembering, like a whole day. And other people are like, "Do you know each other?" I have to be like, "No." And it's not because I've not remembered.
I do sympathise. You know what I'm like with dates and memories.
And she's lovely as well.
Stuff.
I'm not going to be rude.
Yeah, of course. But you know what I'm like with dates and memories and stuff like. And a couple of times I've been talking to people from school, some of my friends, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, because you were really into that school." And I'll be like, "No, I wasn't." And they'll be like, "Yeah, you used to talk about it all the time." And I'm like, "No, I know."
What do you mean into that school?
I was into that at school. Like a subject. It could be a film, it could be anything, whatever. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh yeah, you're really into that at school. I was like, no. And then like, but you do like it. And I say, yeah. But then in my head, I'm like, I can't tell them that I know for a fact that I got into it in November 2015, 3 years after I left school. So
you don't show that kind of restraint
of course not. No. But with them, I go, oh no, I don't think so. And they're like, yeah, you do, yeah.
Not me.
I was at the doctors.
Don't do that. That's like all this on
what a bad way of ending that anecdote.
Yeah, you have to sometimes just let go and be like, I will let you believe that because there's not going to be a conflict point.
It's like people
where it was you were there at the scene of the crime.
Yes.
Like that's not going to happen.
It's also where it's like what many people have where there's somebody at work who works in a different department on a different role that doesn't get their name right and they just accepted it. I have a friend that happened to. It happens in Friends, when Chandler's like the guy is like, hey Toby. He's like, I just accept that I am Toby.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything.
A guy went to my school his parents are Greek and his name is Elias. But the entire time we were at school, he was Elias. Huh. And it was only until like our last year that he was like, actually my name's Elias. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, Elias or Elias. Like, I've been calling you this name and you've only just told me. Yeah. And you've let everyone all here call you this name. I was like, well, I'm sorry.
So what do you call him now?
Well, no, I haven't seen him since school, but I was like, it's Elias in my head. I have to be respectful. I just feel bad that you never corrected anyone.
Sorry,
you're there like.
Yeah, I don't have anything to retort with that Greek comment. Welcome to episode 82 of Pulp Kitchen. If you're a new listener, if you're a regular listener, welcome back,
guys. Welcome. It's going to be a slightly different episode today. We've done these types before, but we're hitting the halfway point of the year. We will do by the time this is out. Mm-hmm. Hit halfway point of the year.
Solstice.
We did a fun little check-in at the start of the year, looking at all the releases this year and like cherry picking the ones that we were excited in, what ones we didn't really know about. 6 months has now gone by and we have a much better idea at what we're going to be talking about the rest of the year.
That's right.
So I thought it'd be fun, interesting, stimulating to run through the next 6 months because we've got a lot of solid release dates now.
That's
for really fun things, and I just thought we could react to them so that when they come out we have more of an informed discussion and we can reference this chat.
Absolutely.
And so that you guys know what's coming out and what we're going to be covering.
Also, as we have been doing for a few weeks now, we do release bonus content. So last week we put out a bonus spoiler discussion about The Flash from our review last week. And what we're going to be doing this week is a review of Still, the Michael J. Fox documentary, which if you listen to our Flash spoiler discussion, that topic came up about Michael J. Fox.
That was Aquaman's rejected name.
Yeah, Splash. No.
You got the Flash. You got the Splash.
So that's going to be our bonus episode this week. It's a documentary that came out recently about Michael J. Fox, his career and his struggle with Parkinson's. I've seen it. We're going to review that in the bonus episode. We're also going to do some more emails in that episode as well. So look out for that later in the week.
Okay, so George, looking at the next 6 months, I have done my best to compile a list of every film, and we've got some TV shows of note in there. It is surprisingly hard to get accurate release dates. I had to cross-reference multiple listicle articles where like a lot of these are different. So my main thing is take the exact release date with a pinch of salt, but I'm pretty sure within a week or two of when I say the date is when it's coming out.
Are you doing UK or US release date?
I'm trying to do UK release dates. Good. So for people not in the UK, bear with. But this is when we're going to be covering it and when the rest of the world is going to be covering it.
Thank you for putting this list together. I'm interested to hear what's coming up.
I actually started doing it because I like to now put film releases in my calendar.
That's right.
And I try and time it with when we record to when, that's coming out. I should really try and see that before the date. So I just thought, why don't I fill out the rest of the year if I can, and we can react to it. Coming into July, we've got Elemental from Pixar.
Right, I've heard nothing about this.
I've heard nothing about it. It's coming out.
It's out now in the States.
Is it?
Which makes me even more concerned
Why
that
would it be so
quiet.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's.
We haven't heard the Americans talking about it.
The Americans. Someone phone the Americans.
Find me an American now.
Kensington 5614.
Like ear and speak. Yeah.
Hello, this is Washington. Have you seen Elemental? I'm not sure I love Pixar's abstract phase.
Oh, I'm so done with it.
Another
amorphous, bodiless, feeling element, emotion. Oh, we're playing on. Look, it's water and. I'm like, stop making the same film.
Inside Out, I enjoyed. But parts of it I thought were a bit like over conceptualized.
I think the writing team need to ease off the LSD. Yeah. Come back to the office.
Come probably.
Down. Yeah. Get under some oppressive fluorescent lights. And write something a bit more tangible.
And Soul as well. Like, Soul was a great movie until he falls through the manhole at the beginning.
Really,
and then it becomes
this really enjoying it.
I know.
The joy, like,
the 12
stops,
minutes.
Just like the music does when he falls in.
Oh, God, yeah. So that's a shame. But, I'll judge it fairly when it comes
And
along.
on the same day is Insidious, I think 5, The Red Door, which is happening. There'll be another one. I think Insidious 1 had some value.
I've never seen any of them.
In the early, before the sort of James Wan brand of horror was really overdone, Insidious wasn't that irritating to watch at the time. It genuinely had some really good scares in it. I could barely tolerate 2 because it was not very good. And 3 I stopped watching after 20 minutes and haven't seen any more since.
Hats off to you for even trying.
Yeah, I did try. I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. No.
Is Insidious, that's one that Annabelle's a spin-off from, right? No,
that's Conjuring.
Oh,
Patrick Wilson is also in all of these.
So Patrick Wilson is in Conjuring and Insidious?
Yes. So he's in all of them. Patrick Wilson is in...
But not the same character?
No. So Patrick Wilson is in Insidious. He's this like cursed boy who's followed by a demon. And then in The Conjuring, he plays a ghost catcher with Vera Farmiga.
Yes.
And in the first Conjuring film, there's like a shop and there's an Annabelle doll, which is referenced, and Annabelle then gets its own.
Right. Nothing to do with Insidious. Separate thing. Great, cool. Won't be watching it, sadly, not engaged.
Moving further into July, on July 14th, we've got Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
Coming out on my birthday.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just for me. I did. Thanks.
I think I told you this briefly at our screening. There's currently a sort of behind closed doors cinema war going on between Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan. Both of those films are very much competing for the large cinema space. Tom Cruise was very bullish on not bringing the release of Top Gun Maverick early when people weren't yet going back to the cinema. He was like, no, push it. I put all this effort, all this time. This is made for the big screen. We shot it on IMAX. Yeah. I want it to wait. And obviously it goes on to not only be great, but like a huge box office success. So he's trying to basically... we talked about this before. The film companies are doubling down on the big screen. You want to go, and we talked about this when we saw Flash. Like you want a reason to come to cinema. Here's the biggest thing we can think of, shot in the biggest way possible with the biggest camera we could.
Only in cinemas.
Please pay £25-30 to come and see it. We promise it will be worth it. And so far, like a lot of them are.
And that's why the marketing for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning has been like, look how we've done this amazing stunt that you will only see the best way.
Here's
on
a
the
7-minute featurette about this stunt and how cool it is. And Tom Cruise is there. And then similarly, you've got Christopher Nolan coming out the next week, who is he is the love child of big screen cinema. He's coming in with his film Oppenheimer. Every time he does a film, more and more % of it is shot on IMAX film.
The words IMAX are synonymous with Nolan. The words IMAX just follow the word Oppenheimer. And you and I have talked about booking Oppenheimer tickets, and it just doesn't even...
There's no way not to see it. Yeah, we're going to try and see it in the projected IMAX film, which is hard to find, but we will do it. And so he very much created the dramatic IMAX in cinema that we know today. They are apparently like you buy a certain number of screens for a certain number of weeks, and then you lose your time. Nolan already pre-booked, I think, 3 weeks exclusivity with the thing. Tom Cruise is basically coming after them and saying, can you now split some of your days with Mission Impossible if it's still making money after 2 weeks? So we might have a situation where you want to go and see Oppenheimer, but they're still going to be doing screenings for Mission Impossible.
Oh, interesting.
So
we'll see. This space.
I'm looking forward to both of them.
The Mission Impossible is one of those things. It is the, and I hate to use this because it's slightly snobbish, but and it's not my own. I've read this somewhere else, but it's when people say that Mission Impossible is the thinking man's Fast and Furious franchise. Sure. Which is like, let's do everything the Fast and Furious franchise does, but with logic and with discipline. Yeah. And similarly to Fast and Furious franchise, had like a soft reboot halfway into its third film.
Seems to be getting bigger and bigger as they go along, more self-aware in a way.
Also wrapping up now. This is the first of the final two parts. Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's all these films have a very specific joy, which is like the plot is kind of
I never
secondary.
think about the plot.
No,
afterwards.
but I like watching slick, well executed, disciplined action, and
Christopher McQuarrie back at the helm.
Yeah, Fallout was great, and I look forward to I look forward to watching it.
So then, as I already said, the week after that, on July 21st, we've got the ultimate Barbie versus Oppenheimer. Yes. Greta Gerwig's Barbie, which has been, I think, a lot of people who aren't necessarily into film, everyone I speak to is looking forward to Barbie. When's Barbie out? Cannot wait for that.
Because it's you're taking an iconic brand and you're pairing it in a style that does not seem typical with that. If you said Barbie movie to somebody, they have so many different ideas.
Straight to video.
Like, oh no, it's live action. It's Greta Gerwig. It's Margot Robbie. It's Ryan Gosling. People are thinking completely different things.
Yeah, properly also, well thought out.
Give a shout out to Michael Keaton as Ken in Toy Story 3.
Yes. Oh my god. So funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
Anyway,
and in Toy Story 2, the Barbie sequence was really funny.
Yeah. Bye now.
And also that week as well, we've got They Cloned Tyrone, which is a Netflix project starring John Boyega and Jamie Foxx. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this. It came out, I think, this week.
I have not seen the trailer for that. Sorry, we didn't also just talk about Oppenheimer there, but we've just said that we want to see it.
Oppenheimer, cannot wait.
It's a moot point.
Huge and long and big. We will see it on the biggest screen we can in projected film, They Cloned Tyrone is, and I quote, a series of eerie events thrusts an unlikely trio onto the trail of a nefarious government conspiracy. Also starring Teyonah Paris.
Oh yeah, I like Teyonah Paris a lot.
Yeah. What else is she in?
She was in WandaVision, but she was also in Mad Men and Chirac and much else besides. Just a really good actress.
Big week that'll be.
Yeah.
The week after that, rounding up the end of July, we've got The Marvels.
That is, speaking of Teyonah Paris, she'll be in that.
Oh, right, yeah. Marvels.
Again, it's same as Secret Invasion. Like
Secret Invasion,
flatlined.
Our podcast has flatlined. Is that really brutal?
Our podcast has
we
flatlined.
both went quiet, like there was no beats.
Yes.
Like we just went.
We feel nothing. We don't feel anything bad. It's just we don't. Because you know what it is, we don't know how we feel. Is it part of it?
And I felt the same with Captain Marvel, where I was like, do I go and see this? I remember being in an office job, be like, shall I go? I was trying to get people to tell me to go.
And is that a film?
That is a film.
Right, so that's gonna that's.
But if you told me it was a TV show, I'd be like,
yeah. So that's a mixture of Captain Marvel, Teyonah Paris from WandaVision, and Miss Marvel. So
poor Teyonah Paris, she's going to be doing all sorts of junkets that month.
Oh my god.
And then coming into August, we've got another double release. We've got the Meg 2. Did you see the Meg 1?
Didn't see the Meg 1.
Neither.
It's a bloody megalodon.
It's the megalodon. And then we got TMNT Mutant Mayhem.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
I think we mentioned that when we talked about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, because similarly, it's another iconic, very 90s influenced brand that has been reimagined. I'm not saying Spider-Man's 90s, but you know what I mean. Sort of reimagined, and it's like finally a film studio said, you know what? They were like originally a cartoon idea. Why are we getting people in latex doing it? Or why are we even getting CGI humanoids to do it? Yeah. Let's make it really frenetic and liberate ourselves with animation. So,
I feel like
that's Seth Rogen behind that, and there's a lot of
Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg producing it.
Yeah, I'd be up for seeing that.
I can't help but feel like this could be an age thing, but did Turtles ever really hit in the UK like it did in the States? Because I feel like I really wasn't aware of it.
It was on. No, I remember the cartoons being on when I was a kid.
Yeah,
the animated series. I
remember
Power Rangers being bigger.
Oh yeah, Power Rangers way bigger.
Yeah. I guess they'll be doing that one next.
Coming up next on August 9th is The Nun 2, which is another spin-off of a James Wan thing. So The Nun was in The Conjuring 2.
So that's another Conjuring verse. The Annabelle verse, they call it.
Yes, the Annabelle verse. So that's another spin-off of that. That Sirens Are on Our Own.
Pass.
And that's getting, oh God, real sirens. Sirens keep going.
Pass.
The following week on August 11th, we've got another double. We've got Gran Turismo, which is the game, the film of the game starring Orlando Bloom.
But it's not just that. It's not, because remember it's based on a
true story
of a guy who was like so good at Gran Turismo they offered him the chance to actually race the car.
Yeah.
What puts me off of it is it takes a kind of fairly ludicrous concept. I know it's based on a true story, a fairly ludicrous concept, and you've got actors being really serious. Like David Harbour going, this is the fight of your life. You drive, you die.
If you die in the game, you just reset.
Yeah.
Here it's,
And,
but I know what you mean. There's a lot of red flags to that, but it could be like, it could really sort of 360 and actually end up being quite self-aware fun.
Yeah, sure.
Also, Haunted Mansion.
Do you know, hang on a second. Sorry, back up. I'm trying to think of the last racing movie I liked. I didn't really like Ford v Ferrari. I didn't like Rush. I've never seen Need for Speed. Rush Yeah, Rush was okay.
I liked Rush at the time. I've not seen it since it came out.
Yeah, Rush was okay. That's it,
That's
really.
true. Do racing films not work?
Did you see Need for Speed?
No.
Car chases work, but
Yes.
racing around a track.
Where it's just racing. I'll give it to Rush.
What about Talladega Nights?
Yeah, it's more of it's basically Anchorman.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I go real fast. And then also we've got Haunted Mansion, which is a Disney fantasy comedy. We've got Jared Leto, Lakeith Stanfield, Ryan Gosling, Owen Wilson, Tiffany Haddish, and Danny DeVito starring in that.
Great cast. But wasn't that a film with Eddie Murphy in 2003? Didn't they try and do it? Because this is based off a ride at Disney.
Oh, God, it might have been.
So this is based off a ride at Disney. I think they did one with Eddie Murphy.
I don't remember that well at all, but it sounds like Eddie Murphy in 2003, in between Dr. Dolittle sequels coming out.
The inventors, was it the something of Pluto Nash or something?
Daddy Daycare.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that will be short-lived and live mostly on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for it and really wasn't jumping off the screen for me. Coming up in August 18th. I'm sorry if we sound very negative. We are just trying to give an honest take.
Honest,
and I hope we're proven wrong by a lot of these.
It's warm today. It's just making us
muggy.
honest. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Next up on August 18th was Blue Beetle. Again,
apparently James Gunn says that is the first character in the next phase of new phase of DC.
Turn a page.
Just looks more of like what is this? What are you trying to get?
It doesn't feel like the new start I want.
No, it feels very generic and rote.
August 31st, we've got Ahsoka coming to Disney Plus, which is the Ahsoka series based on the character Ahsoka from the Clone Wars and also Mandalorian.
You know how I felt about the Mandalorian, didn't finish season 3 for the reasons I already stated, and the fact that the TV version of Star Wars is now getting so bloated and multi-storylined, and it's becoming as big and as sort of weighed down as the films.
Do you remember how clean Mandalorian was when it came out? It's like,
I don't relish that. And also, I think the Star Wars shows have been hit or miss. It's not. I mean, Mando's great, except for when I went back and watched it. But like, I was thinking the other day about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. That really wasn't as good as it should be.
No,
it really was not that good.
I feel like it sounds so bad, but if we sat down for a day, I'd come up with some really interesting ideas to come back with
for Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was better than what the show was.
Yeah, I know it's the classic thing, but like, there's a lot to unpick there.
Yeah.
Next up, in September 1st, we've got The Equalizer 3. Denzel Washington this is the brand
movie,
of men coming out of retirement who are now living in a peaceful life, who need to use their special skills to... Oh, I'm being called.
Is that Denzel Washington? I'm so sorry, Denzel. It's really good.
Yeah. The devil comes for you right before what did he say to Will Smith?
Is that Denzel?
Yeah, he said, the devil comes for you at your highest point.
The devil comes for you. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
When Will Smith accepted his Oscar, he was like, D said this to me, the devil come for you at your highest point. Thank you, D. And Denzel Washington was just there like...
Take my wives. Anyway,
I've not seen any Equalizer.
I've never seen Equalizer.
Is the first one meant to be good?
I think actually that does have its following. I've heard that especially the Equalizer 2 is solid, dependable. If you want that kind of movie, that's where you get it. It's like the Taken area, and you've got Denzel who always nails it.
On September 15th, my birthday, we've got A Haunting in Venice, which is the third Poirot, Branagh, the moustache
They're still doing
is
those.
long. Yeah.
I
didn't see 2.
I'm a huge... I mean, I haven't seen these in years, but big soft spot for the David Suchet Poirots of yesteryear. The 90s and the noughties, old British television show that I think in America is available on like PBS, and David Suchet with his did you ever watch those?
Yeah.
Little Madame, and he's doing that, and he was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and really great stories. If you go back and watch Poirot now, there's so many episodes with people who would then go on to be famous. There's like one episode with Michael Fassbender, and I'm like,
oh, is there? Wow.
Sorry, massive tangent. We've never spoken about this, and it's relevant today because when we did our review of films coming out in 2023 at Christmas, look ahead, we talked about The Killer,
which I've got on this list.
Yes, although apparently I thought that's been pushed back. We'll get there.
Okay.
But that stars Michael Fassbender. We said, what happened to Michael Fassbender? We then went on our break over Christmas, and people messaged me. And speaking of racing movies, I was completely unaware that Michael Fassbender has basically spent the last 5 years being a racing driver. And he did Le Mans. And there's an actor I've seen, apparently there's a YouTube documentary made about him, and I've even seen a clip where they say to him, like, would you rather win an Oscar or win Le Mans? And he's like, well, the thing with me is...
doesn't sound
no,
like him.
but he's got that fantastic, like, half German, half Irish accent.
You sound like the guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh, Littlefinger.
Littlefinger.
Sansa
Stark.
Right. But he's like, well, he's got that... I can't do it now, but he's got a very distinctive
He's
way of
not
speaking.
really kind of...
No,
like,
that's too Irish. He's German-Irish, so he's like, he's got very clipped Irish.
He's got a sort of like...
No, too Irish. Bring it back. You're too Colin Farrell there. Anyway, he said that he would rather win Le Mans than an Oscar. It's really interesting. We were there just going, where's he gone? He's like,
that must be nice to be like one of the most sought-after actors, earning, I assume, millions of pounds a job. Just be like, I'm going to cool it for 5 years and just drive and get really good at that.
Worry you that like if you cool it too long, you're going to come back and people are going to go, Michael who?
Nah, I think Fassbender. He did all those comic book films. He's Magneto. You don't forget. You don't forget Fassbender.
Back to the David Suchet. Back to Kenneth Branagh. Okay, so look, I didn't see Murder on the Orient Express, and I heard it was.
I did see that one, and I don't remember much from it.
Right. I saw some of Death on the Nile over my shoulder on a plane.
Classic.
And
such a plane film.
And I was like, oh no, what the hell's going on? I don't like the whole look of those films. I don't like Kenneth Branagh with the huge, dustpan and brush moustache, and the whole. We talked about this when we talked about Oppenheimer, but Kenneth Branagh doing an accent,
really
even though he's Kenneth Branagh, but he's not as good as Suchet.
He's more often in an accent than he is as himself.
Be yourself, Ken. We like it when you're yourself.
That's what's really cool.
I didn't know I'd never heard of Haunting in Venice with that story before.
It's sort of like got horror elements to it.
I'm going to tell you this now. With the way that cinema is going, they're going to do sort of an Avengers-style team-up where it's going to be Poirot, and at the end of this, there's going to be an end credit sequence where Miss Marple comes in, and it's like, duh, finally, Marple versus Poirot. The Agatha Christie matchup.
Versus Godzilla versus Kong. Versus Sisu.
It looks like it is Godzilla. Anyway.
And then in September 22nd, we've got a film from Gareth Edwards called The Creator, which stars John David Washington. Yes, go on, point up.
Sorry, I always get them confused. Gareth Edwards and Gareth Evans. One did The Raid and one did Godzilla.
This is Gareth Edwards who directed Rogue One.
And
that was Rian Johnson. Gareth Edwards did...
No, Rogue One was...
Gareth Edwards.
Yes, no.
Rian Johnson's Last Jedi.
Rian Johnson's Last Jedi.
Gareth Edwards is Rogue One.
And Gareth Evans is The Raid.
I don't have that information with me, but I believe you. So why you Google that, the one thing that's really interesting about this film is that in the people who know lots about cameras, which I like to include myself with, when this trailer dropped, which looks like big, sweeping sci-fi, looks like as expensive as films get, right? No one knows about the quality, but looks big. This film was shot on a camera called the Sony FX3, which for people who don't know, is a camera, the equivalent of that camera that's pointing at me right now. So that is like the Canon version of it. The FX3 is a camera that is that big, that shoots a similar spec and bitrate to that camera.
Wow.
And they've shot this, I don't know if you've seen the trailer, this whole film with it. And it's like, I'd love to hear more about why they chose to do that and what the decision was. It's probably because of being in a small rig, but crazy that this is the first film that's been shot on a cinema camera, like a more of a sort of prosumer professional industry thing.
No, there have been films that
of course, that look like this.
And what's it called again?
The Creator.
And premise?
It is, quote, The Creator is an upcoming American science fiction action thriller film directed by Gareth Edwards from a screenplay written by Edwards and Chris Weitz. We don't have much of a premise here.
Gareth Evans did The Raid. Gareth Edwards did Rogue One.
Thank you.
Godzilla and this. That'd be interesting to see, yeah. Always interesting.
A post-apocalyptic thriller involving a future impacted by a war between humans and AI. Like, it looks very...
oh, yes.
I don't know if I'm just showing George some clips. Like, you would never know that this wasn't shot on a big boy camera.
Love it.
So there's all these conversations of like, oh, I don't have all the equipment I need to make a film. Like, you probably can.
So Gareth Edwards made Monsters. Did you ever see Monsters?
No, but I heard good things.
McNary, which was like the indie version of an alien invasion thing, where it was really like, it was kind of like Before Sunrise meets War of the Worlds. And you have, and again, it was like, he made that for, 20p and a couple of biscuits, and he managed to make a success out of it. And it looks like from that, he's gone back to his roots and said, we're going to do this on, essential kit, not big cinematic stuff. And then, very carefully craft in the cinema magic where we need to. I think that sounds interesting. That wasn't on my radar at all.
I look forward to it. And then the same day is Expendables 4, the fourth.
Ex-Performables, as it's written.
Are they putting...
They're putting the 4 as the Ex-Performables.
Yeah. There's
Never
another one.
seen any of them.
I've seen the first one.
And?
It was fine. First one was like, yeah, I guess it's kind of cool they're all together and it's like decent action. Then I never heard good things about the rest of them, so I never went.
All I remember is that they brought Kelsey Grammer into the third one, and I was like, Frasier?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Coming up in October now, on the 6th, we've got Kraven the Hunter, which I feel like is going to be pushed. This is starring Aaron Taylor-Johnson, right?
Okay.
You know Kraven the Hunter?
No.
And this is like the part of the expanded Marvel verse, so like it'll come in the same thing that Venom and Morbius are.
Oh, right. It's the Sony-verse.
Yes, the Sony verse. Is it definitely Sony? Yeah, the Sony version. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, I like a lot, and who is very hotly tipped to play James Bond, but I can't say I'm a huge... I really feel it's going to be sort of snuck out. And I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'm just thinking, yeah, Morbius. It'll be another Morbius. And then on the same day, we've got Loki season 2.
Yeah, I'm interested. Kiki Kwan's in that as well. Let's not forget Oscar-winning Kiki Kwan. I'm sure Kiki Kwan's role in it will actually be quite small in the way that Richard E. Grant's role was quite small in Loki. Like
a
small but
scenario.
significant.
He'll have a world.
He'll have a world. He'll have a good, and people will tweet about it the days after. I like Tom Hiddleston. Loki really redeemed a lot of things for me that I didn't like. I didn't think I'd like Marvel TV shows.
Yeah.
I was never a big fan of Loki as a character, and they made it work. I like Owen Wilson doing non-blonde, floppy-haired Owen Wilson.
Yeah. And I was like, that's how you do a cool TV show. It really felt like big enough to be its own thing.
Really well conceptualized. I love the 70s, 80s silent running kind of infused design. I was all for that. I would be interested to see where they go with it. But yes, I will tune in.
An interesting end to season 1 as well. With the whole Kang stuff. It'd be fun to see where they take that.
And much better than they ever did with Kang and Ant-Man.
Way better. Coming into October 20th, we've got Killers of the Flower Moon, which we talked about ad nauseum. Cannot wait to see it. Yeah. Give me more. Scorsese.
Go check out James's bonus episode about The Irishman as well, when we talked about Scorsese's most recent thing.
On the same day, we've got Next Goal Wins, which stars our German-Irish Michael Fassbender, directed by Taika Waititi, which is based on a true story. Yeah,
this is about the American Samoan football team, I believe, and like a very famous result they had.
33-0, I think.
Yeah, something crazy in the 2014 World Cup. It's got, this has been on the radar for a while, and I can't wait to see it. Again, not only to see Fassbender, but I think I want to see Taika Waititi, see if he can, he's done the Marvel stuff.
Of something different.
And he did Jojo Rabbit in between, but I'm like, can you just, let's see if you can play your comedy skills and stuff.
It sounds like a Taika Waititi film.
Yeah.
When you put it on paper, I'm like,
I like the Taika Waititi film that's got 20% less Taika Waititi in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like a slightly restrained Waititi film.
Where he wasn't given infinite budget.
Yes,
infinite
that's what's
like we actually need to sell this
film. Every single second of real estate and oxygen in the film is made up of jokes.
Also that day, George, is Trolls 3, which I'll need you to see for the show. Thank you very much. Trolls 3. And if you haven't seen the first 2, you'll have to catch up
we'll
on
have
those.
to add it for the Justin
It'd be a huge bonus if like 1, 2, and 3 ranked, compared, analysed, the theories.
James, you've got the Before trilogy. You've also got the Trolls trilogy.
The
Trology.
They're coming for it. The Trology.
Thank you.
Next up on October 27th, we've got Saw 10. 10X.
Right, you mentioned this briefly to me the other day. Are they counting Spiral from the Book of Saw as the 9th Saw?
I can neither confirm nor deny,
I think they must be. Because I don't remember Saw 9 being, but I remember 8 being the end, and it was like Saw 8,
the final
chapter.
Yeah, as if.
And they did. That was 2010, I want to say. And I said I think they left it. They did leave it dormant for ages, and then they made Spiral, they made Jigsaw. No, Jigsaw's the 9th. That's right, Jigsaw's the 9th.
Is this a sequel to Jigsaw?
Hang on, let's get this up. Hang on.
Isn't it amazing that they called a film the final chapter, and then like the producer comes knocking on the writer's room? Hey guys, I just got an idea. No, we did right at the end.
Saw movies are there? Okay, you've got Saw in 2004. Mm-hmm. You've got Saw 2 in 2005. That's the one with Donnie Wahlberg, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Saw 3 in 2006.
Also good, but a bit sort of starting to unravel.
Saw 4 in 2007. They are popping these out one a year. Yeah. I can't believe. Saw 5 2008.
Weaker.
Saw 6 2009.
Not seen it.
Saw 3D or Saw the Final Chapter, Saw 7, 2010. So can I just say, from 2004 to 2010, there's one every year. I can't believe that.
Wow.
Then you have a 7-year break, and
they were Halloween, weren't they?
You get Jigsaw in 2017, and Jigsaw I heard was actually all right, but that was then. So that's technically Saw 8. And then you get Spiral with Chris Rock, which I never saw, but looked really interesting. But I heard very, very mixed reviews. That's 2021, and now Saw X, you say Saw 10, but in the same way I say Fast X, it looks cool to call it Saw X, with Tobin Bell returning as...
I like Tobin Bell. He's creepy and whispery. And for a character who died, spoilers, in the third Saw film, he's managed to stay through prequels and logic. He set up so much before he died that they were like, oh, he set
incredibly productive killer.
Amazing, especially someone who was like terminally ill towards the end of his life.
Tobin Bell is also one of those actors that when you go back and watch films from like the 80s, he is in like blink and you miss it roles. Like I remember watching Tootsie, he's a waiter in it, and he like walks past the camera for like, and that's it. You go, wait a minute, there's Jigsaw.
And then also on that day is a film called Pain Hustlers from David Yates, starring Emily Blunt and Chris Evans, about, quote, after losing her job, a woman who's struggling to raise her daughter takes a job out of desperation. She begins work at a failing pharmaceutical startup, but what she doesn't anticipate is the dangerous racketeering scheme she suddenly entered.
Oh, and sorry, so they Emily Blunt,
Luke
Evans,
Chris Evans.
Oh, sorry, the other Evans. Yes, fine, equally charming, and directed by
David Yates from Harry Potter.
Thank you.
So that Fantastic Beasts, Harry Potter. He did 5 to Fantastic Beasts 3.
Okay.
Coming up in November 3rd was Dune Part 2.
Oh, Dune Part 2. I would really like to watch. I would really like to rewatch Dune Part 1. For me, that almost feels a bit like an anniversary film for us, James, because I really associate seeing the first Dune with the beginning of this show, which we saw in like episode 6 or 7.
Wow, was it?
And we said, well, we're going to have to come back in 2 years and just talk about.
God, that would have been that
much
time.
I know. We'll have to include a little footage from the first one.
Yeah, from the first one. We'll relink our review and everything.
I don't know. There's the things I admired about the first one, but as we've talked about many times, because of that way that film is structured, I don't think it locked in properly in my mind. And I was amazed at how little I've thought about it until the trailer came out for the next one. And I was like, oh my God, there was this whole world that they built that I did not click with. So I'd like to rewatch it.
I feel the same. I look forward to rewatching part 1, unfortunately, on that TV beforehand. Yes. But I think I do need to refresh the names and the situation and what the hell happened. I know a load of people got killed, but like I want to go in.
It's all about the Fremen, James.
Yes. And because it is a real part 1, part 2, I want to really like kick off. It's going to kick off where we left.
Denise Dune Part 2.
Yes, it's perfect. And then November 10th, it's The Killer, which is the Fincher Fassbender film, which might be pushed, might not.
Oh, well, apparently, if that is coming, then I'd love to see it.
And then coming in November 17th, The Hunger... like Fincher Fassbender will be a good combo.
Yeah, we talked about it before.
No, we haven't. Coming up next, we've got The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah, we've had a couple of listeners who wrote in and were like, guys, I'm a huge Hunger Games fan. I've read the prequel. You got to give it a chance. Hey...
Oh, so it is a book?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought they were just
pulling...
wrote it.
Okay, fine.
It's got Rachel Ziegler in it from West Side Story, who I really like. So I'll give it I say I'm going to give it a fair crack of the whip, but then I only saw 2 Hunger Games movies and I saw the best 2. So it's not for us, is it though, James?
Yeah.
I would see it for the show, but...
You're going to see it for the show?
I would, hypothetically, I'd see it for the show.
Pending,
Don't pin me, tell me my week's like that week.
Coming up on November 22nd, we've got Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby, which, again, I've also heard nothing about. What I will say is that I've seen 2 seconds of this film in the Apple presentation where they debuted the Vision Pro and, like, you know, the headset they announced.
Is it coming out on Apple TV Plus, then, is it? Apple movie?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was more like cinema in the headset. Okay. I don't know if that's the thing. Maybe it is. But yeah, Ridley Scott, Joaquin Phoenix reuniting in a huge epic film. I'm sure it's going to be 3 hours long.
That looks like it's targeting an Oscar then.
Yes,
maybe they're saving all of their marketing and stuff. They don't want to burn out too soon. So
it's an Apple Studios film, across with Scott Free.
I mean, Stanley Kubrick very famously almost made a film about Napoleon, and he didn't. And he had pages and pages of notes about it, and production. You know, there was a lot of pre-production research that went into it. It feels like the kind of project that a director in later life engages with in like a kind of either a bit like a Don Quixote kind of approach. Like, I'm just going to grab the bull by the horns, and it's either going to be a completely foolish endeavor and be like really.
I can imagine
like
it huge
vanity project. Or it could be really interesting. Like I said, I think Ridley Scott is pretty hit and miss in his later years. I have a huge amount of time for Ridley Scott and respect. I think he's incredibly interesting.
I'll always keep an eye on him.
I would always hear an interview with him. He's frank, he's terse, he's blunt, and he's been a director across many different films for about 50 years. So I not comment on him at all, but I can't say I'm have mixed feelings about that.
If there is an actor to take on a role of that, Joaquin Phoenix. I don't know if I praised him enough when I spoke about Beau is Afraid, about how much he's able to do.
I mean, he gets a lot of
film.
praise, but yeah, absolutely.
He is fantastic.
I would love to see a movie with Joaquin Phoenix and Adam Driver.
Oh, yeah.
Too strange?
No, perfect.
I think that could work quite well.
Get them in there. Get them in the same room.
Do you remember that film Midnight Special?
Yes.
Because you had a bit of Michael Shannon and Adam Driver.
Yes.
That was quite cool.
I've got some of these as a TBC because they're meant to come out in autumn, winter 2023, but they don't have release dates. Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is the ragtag band Star Wars series starring Jude Law. Have you not heard about this?
No.
It's a
live action.
A live action
TV show.
Like I said, it's like, we don't know much about it, but he's been at D23 and they've spoken about it. I think it sort of represents what I think a lot of more Star Wars should be, which is like, you take that feeling of when Luke, Ben, Han and Chewie all like ended up together in a ship on an adventure and they happened to stumble across something. I think you got to try and capture that feeling.
Yeah.
You take it away from the burden of the Skywalker saga and you tell a really great story.
You scratch at the skin of the original franchise. You take a
Yes.
sample of DNA and you go over somewhere else and you grow something tiny from that. That's what you need to do.
That's why I'm kind of into it. I'm like, let's just rest that. Because Mandalorian was good until it started leading into there. And
I have a lot of time for Jude Law.
I like
Jude Law
Jude
is
Law.
one of those actors when I see him turn up, because he does do a lot. He does do a lot of different stuff. Remember, he was in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And he was in this great...
Sorry.
That's a racing movie out there.
Oh, yeah.
He was in this really great, underseen, underrated film called The Nest, which was directed by Sean Durkin, who did Martha Macy, May Marlene.
What year?
2020.
Oh,
so
recent.
So it came out, it was like big in the festival circuit, then kind of got lost in the mix with COVID, and it just kind of came out on Netflix. I really, really like that film. It's just a quick tangent about
sounds
it.
Great.
Yeah, it starts in America in the 80s, and he's married to Carrie Coon. He's British, and he says... And he's like a financier, high-flying, complete 80s wealth, and 80s capital. And he's like, hey, my old boss in London, he wants me to go back, and he's got a new job for me. It sounds amazing, promotion. He wants me to go. So he and his family relocate to relocate to England, big country house. He works in the city in London and stuff. But there's something off, and you're not sure what it is. And slowly, Carrie Coon, the wife, starts to think that something is off with Jude Law. And the creeping sense of misery and suspicion and slight hauntingness, there's almost a slight... It's one of those ones that has like a very vague whiff of like a horror film about it, even though there's nothing horror in it at all. Because they move into this big old country house and nothing feels right. They keep talking about how nothing just works with them. And it's like this slow... It's not a slow movie, but this sort of gradual creeping sense of we've made something off, something's off here, and seeing these four members of these families sort of spiral. I really liked it, and the period detail for 1980s London was not that I was there, but it's really interesting. It also has an actor I really like in it called Adil Akhtar, who recently won a BAFTA. He's great in it. Recommend that for anyone who's Jude Law fan and also wants an underrated movie. The Nest.
And then also TBC is Agatha Coven of Chaos, the spin-off character from the spin-off series of WandaVision.
I think we might have talked about this before. I love Catherine Hahn.
Me too.
But can't you give her like something better than? I mean, I
just don't see it going anywhere. I don't see that show going anywhere I want to go. That's what's unfortunate.
A spin-off of a spin-off. It reminds me of that Arcade Fire song, where it's like a reflector of a reflector of a reflector. Like, are we just going to have an echo going around?
I think our comment a few months ago was, you get a show.
Yeah.
You like that character's brother? Here's a whole thing about a cousin.
Yeah. Silly.
And then also along the same vein is Ironheart, who is teased at the end of Black Panther 2, taking on the mantle of... We're so cynical about this. I feel really bad. But just more stuff that will be out when that happens.
More stuff that's going just to exist.
Coming up on December the 8th, we've got a film called Leave the World Behind, which is a thriller starring Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, and Ethan Hawke.
Oh, what a cast.
What a cast. And Julia Roberts, who we unfortunately do not see in that many things these days. No. And this is, quote, a family vacation on Long Island is interrupted by two strangers bearing news of a blackout. As the threat grows, both families must decide how best to survive the potential crisis, all while grappling with their own place in this collapsing world.
Love it.
Denzel Washington in there as well, apparently.
Oh, I love that as a premise.
I think it's based on a novel.
And what name of it again, please?
Leave the World Behind.
I love that as a premise. Julia Roberts, you're right, isn't in that much stuff, but I think that's because she chooses her projects quite wisely because she can.
She said
Julia
that.
Roberts.
She said there's no good scripts.
Yeah.
She says that out in the press.
Brilliant.
We'll see that. Coming up on December 15th, almost there, is Wonka, which is Timothy, again, like we talked about this a while ago, very early.
Episode 4 or something.
I think we did some news when the photo of Timothy Chalamet leaning against a thing was leaked.
So look, it's directed by Paul King, who did Paddington, the first Paddington films.
Safe Hands.
Yeah, right. Who I really, we love, obviously we love Paddington.
Yeah.
And I'm optimistic that this film will understand the offbeat charm of Chalamet.
Yeah.
And the kooky weirdness of Willy Wonka as a character, and be able to meld that into a charming but interesting tale like Paddington. If you think about it, Paddington's a weird concept.
Yeah.
Bear comes from Peru, loves marmalade sandwiches. Come on.
It's strange.
I'm optimistic that they can create a surprisingly charming, winning film with that one.
I'm almost a bit more skeptical of like, really, a prequel to that character? Guys, what characters have we got?
Yes.
Okay, do we know how they became them? Go, there's a movie.
I agree, but Willy Wonka is the most interesting character in those films. I know they did Cruella. I mean, Cruella was all right.
Yeah.
But I agree. I had also just forgotten Cruella even existed.
I've not thought about it.
But I don't know. I think this one might have just a slightly different edge. I'm hoping, or it'll be completely cynical, sanitized, studio sanctioned stuff.
Coming up on December 20th is Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel Unnamed.
You are joking.
The only reason I want to bring this up is you know how recently in New York there were the wildfires that made everything orange, and I enjoyed people who held their speakers outside their window and played the Dune soundtrack.
Yeah,
It was like fla fla fla. It was so funny. But they were filming Ghostbusters Afterlife during that orange out of New York, and there were videos of the Ecto 1 streaming across the streets, which I think if you're filming a Ghostbusters film, you must be rubbing your hands together to go, oh my god, the whole city is orange and we don't, and it's free. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are writing in some sort of like mustard
Orange goo.
orange goo, which has infected the whole city, which they love.
Look, I
didn't see the first one.
I didn't see Ghostbusters Afterlife. I've only seen Ghostbusters 1, a film which I've always thought a tad overrated. I've never really.
Time.
Yeah,
and
I think it's fair.
You know, something that I don't think is caught.
I think by the time that we got around to watching it, even when we were young, I think it was just not. The times have changed, and so I've never really been that close to Ghostbusters. I remember saying to you when Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, I was like, "Who's that for? Who wants to see a Ghostbusters movie now? Really, I just don't feel."
I think it's people who think they really like Ghostbusters, but actually haven't seen it in a really long time.
It's a bit like when they made Men in Black International. And I'm like, look, I love Men in Black, but who these days is walking around talking about Men in Black?
Yeah.
It's invisible
completely
in the landscape now. So, fine, it can exist, but whatever.
The last one on Boxing Day, which is December 26th for people who aren't British. Aquaman.
Oh yes, hang on a second. The Americans don't call it Boxing Day.
They do. What do they call it?
No, they don't call it that. I think they just call it the day after Christmas.
Yeah, you have to be very direct.
Could our Australian listeners please confirm or deny whether you call it Boxing Day? Boxing Day.
Boxing Day. What are you doing Boxing Day?
Barbecue Day.
Barbecue Day.
Barbie Day.
Yeah, we just have that's all we do on Christmas. We've got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom following The Flash and Aquaman sort of being in there.
The Flash got away with it and surprised me. I'm not now going to sit down and go, I need to rewatch all the DC stuff. And I can't wait to see Aquaman. I remain unmoved. And if people come out to me and say that Aquaman 2 is amazing like The Flash was,
I'll very happily go and see it.
But until then,
I don't think I'll watch it for the show.
No.
Obviously, guys, that's the end of my list. It doesn't include all the films that are coming out this year, but obviously for time, just wanted to throw a few out there. We would love to hear what films did we mention that you are really, really interested in. Is there anything we've not mentioned that you really want us to cover? I'm sure there are, and I'm sure we'll become aware of them, but by all means, send them our way. There might be something we completely missed that we'd be happy to talk about. Send that in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com.
Yes. I didn't have anything to say, but I'm just going to say yes to what James said.
Yes. The show.
Do it.
Let's do some emails.
So it's that part of the show where we read some emails out. This week, we've got a few that have come into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. This first email is from Dan, who says, Hi. Hey, guys. This is Dan from New York City.
Does he say it like that?
No, he doesn't, but I'm saying it like that because he's our first named, written-in correspondent from New York City. We've not had a correspondent from New York City before.
You know, they say if you can make it there,
you can make it anywhere. We both love it, don't we?
Yeah, it just went.
Fantastic. I just recently found your podcast and love it. I've long said that my dream job would be a movie critic, and thank goodness for Letterboxd. If I'm allowed to plug, please follow me at... I will read out Dan's account. Yeah, it is DJ Lopresti. DJLOPRESTI. There you go, Dan. Hope you get many followers.
Do you DJ in your spare time, and are you DJ Lopresti?
I believe he is a DJ Lopresti, yeah. For following to keep that kind of dream alive. But your podcast gives great analysis in a fun and digestible way. Thank you so much. My question, and apologies if it's been asked before, but what movie do you love for no reason? I.e., it's not a masterpiece and it's not universally loved, but for some reason it speaks to you. Essentially, a guilty pleasure movie. We've had this quite a few times. Mine is Free Guy, and I've no idea why, but I can't get enough of it. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. Would love to hear yours. Thanks. James.
You know, okay, so I have a few. It's National Treasure, but I think we know why that's perfect, and it's probably the most perfect film ever. I like Godzilla 98.
Yes,
I've not seen it in a really long time, but I have a real warm, cozy spot for it in my head. It's not a masterpiece.
No.
But if I was flicking through TV and I saw Godzilla 98, I would definitely watch it to the end. And then, do you remember a film called Holes, starring Shia LaBeouf?
Based on the novel by Louis Sachar.
Yes.
And we read that. We read that in English at school.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And a great film.
I'm Up on God's Thumb.
Yes. Yeah. That's a film.
And
The
why
Beach.
why is that a comfort film for you?
Because I would have watched it when I was younger.
Got it.
And I remember it fondly, and I think it has like a fun twist to it. And then Sirens on Our End. And then The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's a comfort
Not
film
a good film. No, I don't say comfort film. He's saying films that for some reason you just have an affinity for. It like especially the second half is bad, but there's something very exciting about the premise it introduces you to.
Thing is, I watched The Beach when I was admittedly like 17, 5-year rule, flagging it again. Yeah. I thought it was fine, but so not you, but like I have read people who absolutely hate it. I think it's trash. Is it that bad?
No, the second it really unravels
with the sort of
with the psychedelics in the
in the video game
he's running through, and then there's this really like unwanted, boring second half to do with like people who grow drugs on like the island. You're like, this is completely unraveled from what was interesting about the first half of the film. Again, I'm still having criticisms for a film I haven't seen in a while.
But that scene where the Pure Shores by All Saints plays,
it's perfect.
I can feel it.
But it's the idea of someone on their gap year trying to find purpose and meaning and discovers like a society on an isolated beach, and he joins them. And it all
but it also is equally as corrupt as the real world.
Yes, it's meant to be perfect. I just thought it was quite
remember that because
written by
Alex Garland.
Yes,
his collaboration with Danny Boyle. This is spoiler for the end of The Beach, although this is the epilogue of The Beach. It doesn't actually end the plot, but I remember that because it ends with him in a internet cafe, and it's one of those things where all the computers, those like Mac, multicolored monitors. And some of them at least were. And I was just like, it's 2000. It was made in 2000, just so there. I don't think I have one off the top of my head. We've done these kind of things before. I'm struggling to think of what I think any sort of superhero thing. But on Free Guy, I will say I can totally see why you said that for your answer. And I do agree. Free Guy is one of those films, a bit like The Flash in a way last week, which was like, I fully understand why people wouldn't like this or people don't go for this. And on paper wasn't go for this. But I watched Free Guy. Me and my girlfriend had an absolute blast. And I thought, fuck it, I love that.
In the week since we watched Flash and discussed it, people are like, what did you see this week? And I'm like, The Flash. And it was great. So much better than I thought. And they're like, really? Like, should I see it? And I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Because like it's hard to recommend if you're not already going to be interested.
Yeah. Also, I said to someone that surprised and I really enjoyed it. And they were like, oh yeah, but was that because you saw it in a screening, saw it in the cinema, so it's always 10 to 15% better. And I said, well, yes, but is that invalid?
Isn't every film
10
to 15% better?
Just because something is better that's not a false reading, isn't that the true
I would say
reading?
We saw it properly, and not seeing it that is 10 to 15% worse. If we're going to use that maths.
Dan, thank you for your email very much, and hello to New York.
This next one is from Matthias, friend of the show, written in before.
Thank you, Matthias.
Writes an email subtitled subject plot holes. Hi, James and George.
Based on the novel by Louis Sarah.
This is the plot of the movie Holes. Hello, James and George. I'm currently saving up on your weekly episodes because I'll be driving to Switzerland in a couple of weeks, and I find podcasts are always a good way to keep me awake while I'm driving through the night. Matthias, wake up! Stay awake! I always worry that someone who's doing something, not to like blow our ego up, when someone's doing something really important and we're like, this one is from, and then we say their name. They don't like crash the car that they're in. And, but well, I just imagine Matthias is just like, this one's from that's mine going 80 down the freeway. But when I got a Spotify alert that you guys are going to be talking about Across the Spider-Verse, I just had to write in. I think the Spider-Verse film has got the most correspondence of any film we've ever done. I
agree.
10, maybe close to 10 emails now?
That, I think,
the more that we haven't read out.
We had a lot about Guardians, to be fair.
Yes, that's true.
Guardians 3, but I think Across the Spider-Verse, unbelievably, yeah.
I just had to write in. I'm a huge fan of Into the Spider-Verse, and it's even my favorite Spider-Man movie so far. So obviously I'd been eagerly awaiting the sequel. And although it exceeded my expectations and was a visual feast to behold, I did notice what seems to be a plot hole, or so it feels to me at least.
Would you like me to just quickly read, James, what he says in case this spoils it for you?
Does it spoil? I don't think it spoils.
Let me just quickly get this for you, because I haven't got this email in front of me. I'm just going to pull it up. I would hate for you to read this email out and read a plot hole out where he says, Nope, there's fine. There's no plot hole, no spoilers there. Go.
I did notice what seems to be a plot hole, or so it feels to me at least, which brings me to my question. Are certain movies completely ruined for you guys once you notice a plot hole? And what are some of the most memorable ones in your opinion? In this instance, I can live with it because I can see it being resolved in the sequel in some way. Keep up the great work. You're definitely my favorite podcast out there. P.S. I also wanted to pinch in regarding favorite movie insults, and I just have to go for kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Quote, look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find? A picture of me? No, the definition of the word idiot, which you fucking are.
yeah.
It just absolutely destroys me every time.
Yeah.
Kind regards, Matthias.
It's Val Kilmer to Robert Downey Jr. is a picture of me. No, a definition of the idiot, which you fucking are.
Which is really funny.
Yeah.
It's a really good way to get someone where they think they're being smart, but actually they're not.
Classic Shane Black dialogue.
Do you have any off the top of your head?
Any
plot holes? I like famous plot holes. I think there's some really good. I'm never disappointed in hearing them. I'm always like, oh yeah, that's fun to pick out.
When I hear them, I'm always just like, yeah. I mean, these movies aren't real, and they are. It's like saying you do realize that the whole set is made of paper, and you know it's going to fall down. I don't have any. What's your like?
I saw one recently that was one of the final scenes in Toy Story 2 when Bullseye runs after a plane, and someone just stops it and going, "You're saying a 7-inch toy donkey can run up to 250 miles an hour after a plane?"
If you like plot holes, you should really follow Pitch Meeting. Ryan George, who's just so funny, and his
destroys any film
absolutely
in a smart way.
But a similar thing where someone would point out something.
You're saying that they're going to do that, okay?
Yeah, and it's not criticism, and that's not helpful to point that out, but it is funny.
And he always does it through the process of like a producer trying to tell a writer, or a writer trying to tell a producer,
trying to pitch a script to a producer, and it's really, really funny, quite surreal, some of it, but I find that better than something like Cinema Sins that will just pick some silly things out of a
this person moved from over there without picking up that thing.
Yeah, it's just annoying, but do it funnily like a Pitch Meeting. Yeah,
I like the famous one that's really bad is you know about Peter Pettigrew in Harry Potter.
Is that he's a rat and he was on Ron's lap?
Yeah, so like a 46-year-old man was sleeping next to Ron Weasley the whole time, and Fred and George had the map their entire childhood, but never wondered why Peter Pettigrew was sleeping in the same bed as Ron Weasley. And then Harry consequently never. Oh no, he didn't get it till later, but like that, no one ever got that together. The Dark Knight Rises stock exchange Wall Street crash, where Bane he ruins Bruce Wayne's finances by crashing the stock exchange, but like Wall Street can just nullify that transaction. They could just be like, that doesn't count, we're Wall Street. Like that was an illegal transaction you made under gunpoint.
Yeah.
We just don't count that day. Obviously, there'd be a little dip,
but
we don't need to like wipe the stock market clean.
Otherwise, the entire economy would collapse on many people.
Another one of my favorite ones is in Lord of the Rings.
By the way, well done. I've got nothing. So
sorry. Another one of my favorite ones is in the Lord of the Rings when the orcs are taking Merry and Pippin, and they're trying to decide whether or not they should eat them because they haven't eaten anything good in a long time. And there's this big fight about like, let's eat them, and then they go no, and they kill one of the orcs who's trying to eat eat them. And the Urukai goes, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. And it's like, the orcs have menus. That means they have cafes.
Of the menu.
That means they have like restaurants. That means that after a long day, like digging in Mordor, they go, boy, should we go down? Go down the tavern? Yeah, we never go anywhere nice. And that they're at a restaurant and there's not enough meat on it. And they're like, what are you gonna have? I don't know. Just like the more you think, I never thought about it until someone mentioned it.
Well, and also the now you've reminded me of the other one that everyone talks about is the in Taken, the U2 thing. You know that?
What was it?
So in Taken with Liam Neeson, he thinks his daughter's going out to visit a friend.
She's chasing you too.
Yeah. So she realised he finds these dates and he like throws it on the kitchen table of his ex-wife. He's like, "They're tour dates. They're following U2 around Europe." And they're like, "Which 18-year-old in 2008 is following U2?" Look, U2. Don't get me wrong, loads of hits, but all around Europe in 2008, please.
At that age,
yeah.
And then I have one more, which is also good. Which is in the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah. But
the poster. Who put the poster back up?
Look, I've heard this before.
It is physically impossible.
I hate when people do this because it's so annoying because it is distracting. No,
it's good.
He could have lifted it up and then got himself in it. It would have just flopped back down behind him. Maybe.
I'd love to see that scene in SNL. Him just like, fuck, it's the perfect plan. But I can't. Maybe like a piece of gum, and he's like,
"Can you lift it up like a flip pad?" Sirens on our end.
Sirens on our end. Big sirens. Whoa. Big sirens. Whoa! They're coming for us. Can you imagine they just get louder and louder?
Yeah.
It's like, get him!
The sirens are here! The sirens are here!
I'm like an undercover agent, like, we got him.
I just find that, it's like, I get it. I think
of these are.
They're like a flip pad, because he lifted it up, got himself in, and it flipped back down behind him. You can flip it up like a flip pad.
Yes, maybe. That's true.
That's my interpretation of it. And also, shut the fuck up, nerd. That's what I feel like saying to the internet.
Matthias, thank you so much for
that
your
wasn't
email.
directed at you, Matthias.
No, that's fair.
Although I hope I guess. Yes, I guess. Or the internet. Thank you very much. This next email is from Oliver, who's a friend of the show, who has some more thoughts on Succession Season 4. If people don't remember, a few weeks ago, we did our whole sort of take on Succession, the whole show. Check that out. Once it finished, this is a spoiler-free email. Oliver says, "Hi, lads. He says, I had to write in to discuss Succession with you because I see it from a different perspective to you. Although you acknowledge that it is enjoyable episode to episode, you said you couldn't really follow the loose threads across the whole series. I would say that this is one of the points of the show. Rather than any particularly strongly held convictions or master plan, each of the siblings is grasping at straws because they are so rich and powerful, the audience assumes that they are more coherent and sounder in strategy than they actually are. The key quote from the series is Logan saying, 'I love you, but you are not serious people.' The siblings are playing at being business people, and however much they want to be the successor, their base motivations mean they can never succeed."
Yeah,
I could go on. Yeah, I agree. I could go on about why I think Kendall is a much more interesting but tragic character than you gave the show credit for, and is not simply reverting back to the same person that he is in Series 1. But my train is arriving at work, and this email is already too long. Again, I love the pod and can't wait for further episodes. Lots of love. Ollie from London, unfortunately not remote at all, sent from Outlook for Android. Oliver, I think that's perfectly... fine take on your part.
And lots of people, we sort of mentioned this. Most people have come out for Succession Season 4 because we sort of strayed into the negative as we were really trying to unpick what we thought had just slightly gone wrong with it. But most of the correspondence we get, and we continue to get DMs about it, was like, "Oh, I loved it. Thought it was a really fitting end to the show." We're just going to read this one more from Claire, which is about Little Mermaid.
Got it.
We're just going to read one more from Claire, who writes in and says, "Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Hey Claire.
Long time in that I found you guys on TikTok, (OVS), and started listening to you when you were on around episode 10.
Sorry, Claire. I don't know what's going on outside.
It's just constant...
Is it just motorbikes and ambulances chasing each other?
But you know what's weird is that when you're not here and we're not recording, mostly quiet, but it's like when the hours that you're here are when like... The wild hogs are being chased by the police and there's an ambulance and I don't know how much of it picks up on the mic. I don't think loads of it does.
No, but we hear it loud and clear.
This isn't a rough neighborhood.
I know.
Long time in that I found you guys on TikTok, OVS, and started listening when you were on around episode 10.
Hey, thanks, Claire.
I started from the beginning and have been hooked ever since. Are we bringing the food back for EP 100? As an OG follower, I believe I'm a friend on TikTok, so that definitely makes me a siren.
Yes, okay, we're going to use that. We're going to use it.
You're both so engaging, and it's like having my mates round for a film chat each week I listen each week. I've always been a film fan, and while my knowledge of film isn't the year's release Rain Man degree, Wait. And while my knowledge of film isn't the year's release Rain Man degree of George's, I do know some random trivia about films.
Hey, wait, break that down again. Even though
And while my knowledge of film isn't the year's release Rain Man degree of George's, I do know some random trivia about films. And listening to you, I feel like I could chip in if I was in the room. So if you ever need a guest on, brackets, lol. As a mum of 2 who's 10 years older than you two, it makes me laugh when you think you're old. As an elder millennial, doffs cap, I find it a different. I'm
not sure we've ever said we're old, just older.
Yeah, I think we should realize we're getting older.
I'm teasing.
I find it adds a different element to my reviews of films compared to yours. It's interesting the films that have had an impact on you that have passed me by, as I was at another stage in my life. It links into George's rewatch theory because which is.
But the theory is that I think you should
be careful about commenting on a film.
It's more that I think any opinion on a film is only valid for 5 years, and after that, you need to rewatch it you need to renew your opinion of it. It might have stayed the same, but it might have changed.
We're usually saying, I haven't seen it in a while, so pinch of salt with the
because life changes, films change.
It links to George's rewatch theory, because I really believe the place where you're in your life can greatly affect how much a film can resonate with you.
Yes.
We've talked about this a lot,
and particularly with the before films.
There have been so many things I've wanted to write to you about, but this is why I've chosen this week to write in. EP80, The Little Mermaid. Please go and check out Little Mermaid review if you fancy it. Like many, I watch the majority of my movies at home, but certain releases will drag me to the multiplex and the extortionate prices. My husband, brackets, whose own interest has since waned, has set me on a love of the MCU, so I last went alone to watch Doctor Strange. So I've no issue with going to the cinema alone. Don't know if there's much of a stigma, but it shouldn't be. No. Seeing a film is a rubbish date activity, but a sneaky afternoon trip alone to yourself, to lose yourself in another world, is perfect. That's so true.
Yes.
It's a bad date, but it's a really great thing to do alone.
I think going to the cinema as a date is only good if you,
spend the whole day.
Or you I think it's only good if you've got stuff planned afterwards, like you can pour into. But even then, like,
it could be weird if you just go, okay, bye.
It's more like because the thing about being in a cinema on a date is you want to sit in silence comfortably with someone, and that's quite a lot to do actually.
Yeah,
that's quite an intimate thing to sit comfortably in silence with someone when you're courting.
Yeah,
you actually want to be talking, communicating, learning about each other.
It could be weird to be like, well, that was the movie. Yeah, it was good.
Did you ever do cinema dates much?
Yeah, when I was younger. Yeah. But they were also a bit strange.
I went on a cinema date when I was 13. I can't believe it. Sort of flushed away. Yeah. One of the saddest days of my life. No, I'm just kidding. Just bleak 13
I saw
years.
the film Drillbit Taylor with Owen Wilson.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah.
Which you would not have thought about since that came out. And I went on a date and it was like we were sitting next to each other and about 30 minutes into the film, our hands rested on each other. And I've never felt my heart, but that was a real rush.
Wow. Anything happened after that?
Yeah, we kissed on.
Oh my God, you kissed.
Yeah. But not in the film, it was afterwards. I was scared to do it in the film.
Of course, because you thought the police were going to come and be like, what are you doing? Get your hands off her.
But yeah, that was a fun rush.
I think if you said Drillbit Taylor to Owen Wilson, he'd forget he was in it.
Oh yeah,
Drillbit Taylor. Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
Back to Claire's email.
Cinema alone, blah, blah, blah. Until last month, when me and my friend of 30 years went to go see The Little Mermaid. It's our film, our Disney film. I can tell you it inside out, and I still have the VHS I received from Santa Christmas 1990 at age of 5.
That's fantastic.
Christmas is real to you, damn it.
You're only 4 years older than me, actually. No, sorry, what the hell am I talking about? So take that out.
Christmas is real to her, damn it. And she put, it's our film in italics.
Yeah,
she wanted me to be and I said this the other week, people have their films and they their selection that really were theirs and blah, blah, blah. Which brings me to the new version. Firstly, we went as adults. I left my 5-year-old daughter at home, not alone, because I needed to appreciate it all. At 2 hours 15, it is too long to be a children's movie. As you both touched on in your review, we had kids off in the loo to the loo in our showing, and mine wouldn't have lasted the length without being bored. But, again, an aside, why are kids' films so long nowadays? ! 90 minutes is long enough for an adult film. A kid's film should never, bold, italicized, exceed it.
That's like Bennett level of formatting.
Yes, yeah, Bennett, watch out.
Yeah.
Why does it feel like nowadays everything has to be explained to the nth degree? I feel we managed to understand it in the past. I feel we managed to understand it in the past. Was filmmaking more concise? In the OG Little Mermaid, Triton says to Sebastian, the only problem left is how much I'm going to miss her. Turns her into a human. They share a look, and later she simply hugs him and says, I love you, Daddy. I got all I need from those short scenes to understand everything, make me cry, etc. Yeah. In the new version, all of this is 3 separate scenes, at least twice in length, and we don't even get her with a sparkly gown walking on the beach. My review of 2023 Little Mermaid is that I have to separate it from the original. Like all these Disney remakes, we aren't going to get a real-life remake of a classic. We're getting a reimagining. And in that respect, the film is decent, well-acted, excellent songs, beautiful undersea sequences, brackets when in 2D. Melissa McCarthy is outstanding as Ursula. My main issue is with all the extra bits they added to bring it up to date that just made it feel too fat of a film. Ariel's songs inside her head and the Prince Eric getting his own song, the scene where Eric shows her his treasure love to show their connection and the added parts to kiss the girl, establish the film in the 21st century, great. But all the added emphasis on the Siren song, how Eric was adopted, the issues with the kingdom, the Lin-Manuel song, the extra King Triton scenes, that's what makes it all a bit drawn out, and I don't feel like it adds anything. We went to see scenes from the original brought to life, which we got in the tail splash and the part of your world. But if you're going to recreate those scenes, why not just remake it with a few added extras, rather than changing and adding pointless exposition for no reason? I did like the film, but who are these remakes aimed at? Me for the nostalgia, or for my daughter as a first-time watcher? Because I was left 50-50 about it for the nostalgia, and she wouldn't have been able to sit through it.
That is such a good point, Claire.
Such a good point. I could go into so much more detail, but I don't want to bore you, all the listeners, anymore. Hope you enjoyed the review. Official friend of the pod, elder millennial correspondent, Disney expert. Keep doing what you're doing.
You can have all 3.
All the best, Claire. Blatantly sent on my work email, which has like her signature from work, which I quite like.
Brilliant.
That's a really great point
That's
to
really
talk
good.
about how over-explaining things. I never really said that, but that's so bang on what it tries to do.
I think, honestly, this is a very cynical take, but I think film studios do that now because they are so afraid of things being misconstrued on Twitter and then being lambasted for something that isn't there, but being accused of something.
We need to make sure we mention
We need to be black and white, that we have transparently said, which is, of course, not how people talk, not how humans interact.
Yeah.
So there's no nuance, no nothing, and stretched out.
A point about it not working for you is for the nostalgia, but you're also your child who's aimed at wouldn't be able to sit through it.
You've hit the nail on the head. Who is this film for?
And you can say that's true for a lot of the Disney remakes. Claire, thank you so much for that email. You're officially all of those correspondents, new friend of the show. Thank you so much for those emails, guys.
We have, that's what we have time for emails for today. But just a reminder that when we do our bonus episode this week, we'll be doing a further few emails in that as well. So stay tuned for that. So, James, this is the end of the show. And at the end of the show, of course, we play some games. That's how we conclude. This week, it is my turn to give you some games. Okay. You are in the hot seat. And this week, I've got a new game for us. Okay. I've got 2 rounds of a new game, and then I'm going to finish with a caster's countdown. Okay. This new game is a game I like to call Nepo Baby Bingo.
Oh.
So,
okay. I'm so hot right now with the Nepos, yeah.
You're aware of the concept of a Nepo Baby.
But for
our listeners, a Nepo Baby is a Gen Z term for a nepotism baby. Somebody who is famous, but who actually has famous parents. The purpose of this game, James, is this. I'm going to name a Nepo baby, and you have to tell me who their famous parents are.
Oh.
It could be parents singular. It could be parents double.
Okay.
You understand the concept?
Do a lot of these people have different names than their parents do?
Some have different names. Some have the same names.
I bet there are so many more that we could
There are. And some people's names you might not know, but you'd recognize their face.
Okay. All right.
There are quite a few.
Okay. Famously,
quite a few.
The film industry, one of the worst.
Yes. Works almost exclusively on nepotism. So, James, again, the game is this. I'm going to read out a Nepo baby. I'm going to do a quick fire. I'm going to ask you for the parent's name. If you don't know it, I'm going to tell you the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to move on. Okay.
Great.
So let's do one round and see how you do.
Nepotism.
Okay. James, let's play Nepo Baby Bingo.
Okay.
Can you tell me the Nepo baby's parents? In 3, 2, 1. Nico Parker.
Sarah Jessica?
No, that's Tandaway Newton's daughter.
Oh, yes.
Lily Rose Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Thank you. Margaret Qualley.
Oh, the model. I can't remember her name now. The model who does the Clarence ads.
Yes, he does the Clarence ads. She's not a model. It's Andy McDowell. Her mother is Andy McDowell.
Yes.
Zosha Mamet.
Who?
From Girls, Zosha Mamet.
Oh, no, go on. Oh.
David Mamet is her dad.
Okay.
Scott Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood.
There you go. Bryce Dallas Howard.
Ron Howard, the
director, actor Ron Howard. Angelina Jolie.
Oh, John Voight.
Yes, correct.
You wouldn't think, but yes, John Voight.
Lewis Pullman.
Philip Pullman?
The novelist? No, Bill Pullman, the actor.
Yeah.
Independence Day president.
Yes, yeah.
Jake Cannavale.
Bobby Cannavale?
Yes, it's Bobby Cannavale's son and Sidney Lumet's grandson.
Whoa, okay, even bigger.
Billy Lord.
Billy Lord. No, go on.
She is the daughter of Carrie Fisher.
Oh, nice.
Catherine Waterston.
Oh, no, go on.
Is the daughter of Sam Waterston.
Okay.
Alice Englert.
No, I don't know.
She's an actor. She's the daughter of Jane Campion, the director.
Wow.
Big one here, heavy hitter, Dakota Johnson. You got 3 answers for this.
Dakota Johnson. Oh.
Dakota Johnson.
Who is... I know Dakota Johnson.
3 answers.
Who is she the daughter of?
James.
I don't know this.
Dakota Johnson. Okay. Dakota Johnson is the daughter of Don Johnson from Miami Vice, Melanie Griffith from Working Girl, and the granddaughter of Tippi Hedren, who was, of course, in The Birds with Alfred Hitchcock.
There you go. Wow,
that is the
huge.
first round
I didn't
of
know she was a
Nepo
Nepo
Baby
baby.
Bingo.
I
She
enjoyed
absolutely
that.
is.
I enjoyed that.
You got a few there. Yes, Margaret Qualley's quite new on the scene.
Yes. She was in Once Upon a Time in
Fantastic.
Hollywood.
I mean, she's great, but her mum is...
Also in Death Stranding, which was a Kojima game.
Also, this is not a comment on... I don't want to pass any shade to these Nepo babies. No. A lot of them are fantastic screen presences. We're just acknowledging the fact
I
of their
adore
heritage.
Brooklyn Beckham's cooking videos. I genuinely think the man is trolling us all.
Okay.
Have you seen the video where he's in a McLaren? And you're that TikToker who's like, how did you make your money? And he goes, oh, well, I'm a chef. And it just went viral. You're like, well, no, you're not a chef, Brooklyn. And that's not why you made £1 million for a car.
Come on, let's not break his whole identity down.
I know, bless him.
Okay, guys, are you ready for your second round of Nepo Baby Bingo?
I certainly am.
James, name the Nepo baby's parents in 3, 2, 1. Lily Collins.
Lily Collins. Phil Collins.
Yes.
Yes.
You said Genesis. Did you about to say Genesis?
It's like Joan in my head for some reason.
Eve Hewson.
No, he's
Bono's daughter.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Jack Quaid. I'm looking for 2
Is
answers.
the son of Dennis?
Yes,
Quaid?
and son of Dennis and son of his wife, ex-wife maybe.
No, go on.
Meg Ryan.
Oh, nice.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. I'm looking for his dad.
No, I don't got it.
You put it in a drink when you want it to be cold. Ice Cube.
Nice.
Wyatt Russell.
Kurt Russell?
And
No, go on. Oh, no, go on.
Goldie Hawn.
Nice.
Bill Skarsgård.
From Stellan.
Yep, Stellan Skarsgård.
And many, rich family.
2 answers for this, please. Zoe Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz.
Yes.
I don't know.
Lisa Bonet.
Lisa Bonet, okay.
Laura Dern.
Ooh. Who's Laura Dern?
Who's Laura Dern?
No, who's Laura Dern's parents? No, go on.
Bruce Dern.
Yes, of course, from yes.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
No.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Who's Gwyneth Paltrow?
Gwyneth Paltrow's mother is Blythe Danner. Emilio Estevez.
Sheen.
Martin Sheen is his father.
I always knew that because they have a weird resemblance. I was like, they must be related.
Yes,
I
they
realised
are.
it's a thing, yeah.
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas?
Michael Douglas, yeah.
I know who Michael Douglas is. I'm like, Michael Douglas is a Nepo baby? Who?
Kirk Douglas. Spartacus. Famously.
Yes, of course.
All right, a few more. Jane Fonda. Henry Fonda. Ben Stiller.
Jerry Stiller.
Correct. 2 for this, please. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh my God. I know this one. Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter of...
Too late. It's Tony Curtis from Some Like It Hot and Janet Leigh from Psycho.
Yes.
Maya Hawke.
Ethan Hawke.
And
No, go on.
Uma Thurman.
Nice.
And famous grandfather, please, Riley Keough.
No, go on.
Elvis. There
Whoa.
are your
That
Nepo
is
babies.
famous.
That was Nepo Baby Bingo.
I like that. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. Now, a lot of those I discovered for myself, and they were really good. They
Yeah.
are everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Like
So just
Catherine
one thing that's
Waterston,
so-
I just thought,
I know that Eve Hewson is not a household name, but she has been in stuff. And then you're like, oh yeah, she's Bono's daughter, like Bono.
do me a favor, put my daughter in your movie.
Jamie Lee Curtis, she made a joke about it when she won a Golden Globe, or it might have been a SAG award when she won it for Everything
Yeah.
Everywhere. She was like, I know, I get it, I'm a Nepo baby. Maya Hawke, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. That's great. It's so funny. Ethan Hawke did a movie with Winona Ryder. Maya Hawke then goes into Stranger Things, works with Winona Ryder.
Nice, yeah.
So fun. Yeah, and Laura Dern, of course. That's Bruce Dern. Again, some fantastic actors in there of both generations. Brilliant.
I enjoyed that. Thank you.
That was Nepo Baby Bingo. I'm not sure. I mean, there are a lot of them. I'm not sure how many weeks we can actually do that for.
But it's a nice little one-off. Yeah, a little fun one.
And James, to conclude, I have a round of Casters Countdown for you.
Great.
Now, there's a fun story about this. I sat down to watch this film yesterday. I've never seen it before. It's been on Netflix. It's been on my watch list for some time.
Okay.
It's not a recent film. It's a few years back. And I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, this is stacked, this cast. And every so often, someone will come on for like one line and I'll go, oh, I can add that to the list.
Yeah. Let's really throw James off with that guy.
Oh, and I don't think you've seen this film either. So James, are you ready?
Would I know it even though I haven't seen it?
Possibly.
Okay, fine.
You would know the director and everyone in it.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So James,
all right.
Are you ready to play
The famous
Casters Countdown?
I'm ready.
James, guess the movie based on its cast in 3, 2, 1. Salma Hayek. John Slattery. Viola Davis. Clifton Collins Jr.
Okay.
Dennis Quaid. James Brolin. Albert Finney. Topher Grace. Louise Guzman.
He's just not that into you?
Don Cheadle.
Crash?
Catherine Zeta-Jones. Michael Douglas. And last, Benicio del Toro. Do you have any idea?
No.
The answer is Steven Soderbergh's Traffic from 2000.
Whoa.
War on drugs scale movie. Epic.
Yes.
That I watched there.
How
about that cast?
Really huge.
I'm going to read it to you again.
How prominent are some of the first people you mentioned in that?
Salma Hayek is uncredited and has one scene and she's talking in the back of a car, but it's definitely her.
Yeah.
John Slattery has one scene of dialogue with him and Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
But this is like 10 years before Mad Men. Viola Davis has one scene with one of the characters as a counselor.
Is this a Netflix film or it's on Netflix currently?
No, it's on. This came out in 2000.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So this is an old film. Benicio del Toro won a Best Supporting Actor for it. So then you've got Clifton Collins Jr., who turns up in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid. James Brolin, father of Josh. He could have been another Nepo baby.
I know, yeah.
Albert Finney, legendary actor. Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Louise Guzman, a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle. Catherine Zeta-Jones. Michael Douglas. Might be the movie they met on. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And Benicio del Toro. Stacked.
I lied before as well. 2000 for Douglas and Zeta-Jones to be knocking around.
Exactly,
film, so.
and in a Steven Soderbergh movie. I saw that. I made a mistake. I said that Out of Sight, the Steven Soderbergh film, which I really recommended to people a few months ago. I said that was the movie that he made before Ocean's 11. I lied. He actually made like Erin Brockovich and Traffic before he made Ocean's 11.
Brockovich, yeah.
He did. So he's made a good few films. And
good film?
Traffic is. You know what? Yeah, I watched it yesterday. It's 2.5 hours long. It's a classic. Do you remember when this was a trope? The multi-person narrative?
Yeah.
The ensemble cast?
Yeah.
So you said Crash. That was almost like the most famous example. But Boogie Nights, Traffic, Magnolia, they're all kind of examples of that.
Vantage Point.
Yes, absolutely.
Matthew
Also with Dennis Quaid. And it's about the war on drugs. So Benicio del Toro plays a cop in Mexico who's getting slowly pulled into the sort of corrupt underworld. And it's Mexico, which is shot with the yellowest of filters.
Of course.
By the way.
Yeah.
But then when they cut back to the USA, it's shot with the bluest of filters. I don't know why. Michael Douglas
because it's hotter there.
Michael Douglas is a judge who is appointed to be the USA's drug czar, but also he has a daughter who is also using. Catherine Zeta-Jones plays a very wealthy housewife whose husband is suddenly arrested by the DEA, and she has no idea why. And Dennis Quaid sort of walks in, his sort of business partner / lawyer, and says, "You cannot talk about this here. There are people, maybe your husband was actually up to some bad stuff."
Nice.
You have Don Cheadle and Louise Guzman as cops on the trail of trying to protect a witness to testify. You have Topher Grace as a real fucking scumbag, to be honest with you. All of this there, and it's a solid it's a solid film. I think that in the years since we've had more continue to have really great things about the war on drugs. And I think that there's nothing in the film necessarily that sort of you learn about the war on drugs that doesn't surprise you.
And it works 23 years later?
Well, I think it does. I think that my point is that the conversation about the war on drugs has continued, and seeing it now, you're like, yeah, I mean, I believe that. I think at the time people were like, God, it's so futile, isn't it? It's just pointless. The whole point of this film is to basically say, like, it looks at it from a very cold, detached point of view. What I love is that like it pulls back a lot of times. So when there's one point where there's an explosion and it cuts the sound out of it. It like stands back instead of leaning in and going like. It's got this cold, cool detachment, which I really like about it. But the main thing I thought when I was watching it was like
a game and a review.
No, not just a game and a review. Yeah, aren't you lucky today? Not just a great cast, but I actually thought this would be a show now. This would be a TV show. This would be an 8-part series. Well, you could each have the members of the cast in there, and it would be fantastic. But I was just like, that's how things have changed. At the time, it was an Oscar-nominated, multi-person narrative, 2.5-hour epic.
Splash in the award season now.
But now it would be.
It's interesting. The title of it is Traffic. When like if it's about drugs, it would. If you're talking about like desks at the police, it'd be Vice. You got like homicide, traffic, Vice.
Well, what I love is that I think that obviously there's traffic, like drug trafficking, there's the drug traffic trade.
Yes.
And there is also a scene of traffic at the Mexican border, the Mexican-US border, famously. Famously. But also, I think you could also read into it, the whole idea of traffic, being stuck in traffic, going nowhere, the frustrating endlessness, futility of the US war on drugs, right?
Look at you.
There you go.
Guys, and on that note, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. We really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this show every single Wednesday.
Also, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we have a bonus episode coming out this week with a new review of the fantastic documentary, which I'm really excited to talk to you about Michael J. Fox, called Still, which is about his career and his struggle with Parkinson's. Please check that out. That's coming out later this week, and that will also have a few emails in it too.
We still have more content to offer you guys. And if you haven't seen last week's bonus content, a Flash spoiler thing, we reviewed Flash, then we just had to talk about some plot stuff, so go and check that out if you haven't. Guys, thank you so much. Don't forget, writing your emails to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We'll see you next week. We're both going to be sort of intermittently away, so the reviews will come, but they might just be like, one of us might have only seen them, and here and there.
And there might be one episode that's a teeny weeny bit late. But we're just letting you know ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. I think, is it next week's one? No, it's the week after. Week after next, we're going to be a day late. We cannot possibly shoot and get it any sooner. But we hope you will forgive us, guys.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a great week.
See you next week.